What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Couple on Fire podcast. On today's episode, we're going to talk about a book that Kristy recently read. It is called Love People, Use Things. And that's coming up
right now.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Couple on Fire podcast. This podcast is for couples, for marriages, and for families within the Christian community. We exist to help break the stigma that happens within the Christian community. We're talking about divorce, we're talking about addiction, and we're talking about so much more. We believe that all this is possible in this life, strictly based on the power of Jesus Christ and his ability to restore us fully. Let's dive in.
Yeah.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to today's show. That was a big breath. That was a deep breath.
Well, lately it's been like my nose. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but my drainage and stuff in my nose, not to be gross or anything, but it is like, it's really for the past couple months, I think, from the weather's been so crazy.
Yeah,
it's just like
we live in Michigan,
super
so it's
runny or super dry. Like super dry where it hurts in there,
yeah,
you know, because the skin's so dry.
Yeah.
So I'm like checking to make sure I can breathe.
I was going to ask you if you had anything interesting to say today, but I think you just did.
Well, we have a lot. Okay, so we had family dinner.
Oh, here we go. All right. Hey, all right.
We had family dinner last Friday with all of our kids for the first time in a while. We used to be pretty consistent about it.
Adult children, they're all adults now.
Yeah. We used to be pretty consistent about it because 2 of our 4 kids have moved out, like having family dinner we tried to do it once a month, once every 8 weeks, and it's been a while. So we had it last Friday. We went to see Kung Fu Panda 4 with one of Josh's sisters over the weekend. And we have my nieces coming over this coming weekend to spend the night. They're super excited about that. So we have a lot.
We might be doing a college visit this weekend too.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I got to register him when we get off of here.
Yeah, we got all kinds of crazy stuff going on. So that's a little bit about what's going on. So anyway, we want to talk about something that is really near and dear to Kristy's heart.
That's right.
It's Love People, Use Things. It's a book that was referred to her by a friend of hers.
Yeah, Casey.
Yeah, Casey, one of her friends, Casey, referred her to it, and she, drives a good distance to work, so you were able to consume it pretty quick.
Yeah.
And it's good. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about the book before we dive in?
I'm super excited about it because
she's very excited.
I am, if you know me at all, I really, really enjoy going through things and purging things and organizing it and having it look miraculous. And so the book is about organizing. And I can get into it more when we get into the points, but really about decluttering your life. And it's called, minimalist, but they really encourage people to do it to what works for them. And so it talks about stop being so caught up in material things. And if you can replace things, for $20 within 20 minutes, even by ordering it online and you haven't used it in a year or 30 days or whatever. I don't remember the exact rules.
Yeah.
You throw it away. Right. And so to purge. And so Josh and I recently have been going through the house systematically, room by room.
Yeah.
We just did the garage last week.
We've done everything except for the portion of our basement. So that's about the last thing that's really left.
You guys can't see a lot of this room, but there is a open closet, shelving system in this room. And we had it it was a free for all of wires and just printer cartridges and all this stuff. And we cleaned and organized that. It looks glorious, when I look over at it. Bathroom cabinets, clothes, purged clothes.
Yeah. I think the theme, though, the idea of this whole concept is what makes the difference in this whole thing. It's decluttering feels nice, right? And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But I really like the title. Just the title alone speaks volumes of what we're supposed to do, right? And so loving people and then using things.
Yeah.
And I think we tend to, and I'm sure this is what the book talks about, but we tend to do the opposite of that. We tend to love things and use people that are around us.
Yeah, it does not so much though. I think it really it's a surprising book.
Oh,
it's
okay.
very
well,
holistic.
let us know if you've read it. I'm curious.
Yeah, it's very holistic. and talks about all of you. So the reason why we have removed ourselves from personal relationships because of social media.
Yep.
And we really have gotten uncomfortable with, and we really don't spend as much time like this, like face to face with people and together. Like a lot of like video gaming is online with headsets, and like we get consumed with just sitting in our own little house and being on social media and doing these things. So it's like, get rid of all the things, force yourself. It talks about not having a phone like for an entire day, like going out with a person that is important to you and you guys do 24 hours with no phone and see how much you connect. And so it doesn't really hit on like you use people, it's you take people for granted.
Yeah.
Because we so are caught up into all the materialistic things. And when you declutter too, it does purge your soul and your mind and helps you organize.
Yeah. I saw a video on TikTok. This was, I don't know, we have talked about this before, but
you have,
where it talked about poverty of the world, right? How much of the world's actually in poverty. And it said that 80% of the world or more, maybe even more, maybe around 85% of the world makes $2 or less a day. And so the majority of our world is in poverty, and we live in the US, and we see impoverished areas, but the majority of us are not living in a poverty, right? So it's real easy for us to get caught up on using things. I mean, and loving things, I should say.
What they do, and the guy is very honest in the book, like, and now when he was single, he was much more of a minimalist, right? Now that he's married and has a kid, it's like some of his boundaries have had to be opened up.
Yeah.
To bring in, because that's what's more important.
Yeah,
is the people. Yeah. But when he first started doing it, he was single, it was very extreme. So he went room by room and packed everything up in boxes. I mean, threw tarps over the couches and the furniture, everything, like he was moving. And then for 2 or 3 weeks, he only took out the things when he needed them. And then whatever was left over, he then divided up to either throw away, sell, or give away. And everything else was gone. So it was extreme. And then they talk about not everybody needs to go the extreme. Yeah. They even tell people, like, if you don't want to even do your whole house, just do a room. Don't even box up the room. Just go through things. And that's like what we did. Because technically, 1 room at a time, all this stuff hanging behind us, besides the books, we don't need any of that. We could throw all of this stuff away. You can't see all the shelves up there, but you can see the books on it. But there's like an everything is figure outable plaque, a get it done plaque, another Bible verse plaque.
We need to get a garbage bag.
We don't need those things. We technically could get rid of them, but we're not doing it that extreme.
Real quick, Stephanie, thank you. She goes, I love what you did with your pod lab. Yeah, our podcast room. Looks pretty now. We have a little tree in the background. Ooh.
Josh loves his trees.
I love the trees. Okay, I like fake trees, let's be honest. Yeah, because real ones you have to take care of them. They don't look as nice. He likes
fake plants.
I do. All right, so we're making 4 points. We just want to talk about 4 different things that are really important that, are derivatives from this book that really speak into that. So let's start off with number 1. Number 1, relationships over materialism. I mean, that's right off where it starts.
Yes. So, and they talk about how much we ignore having the relationships nowadays because we just collect more and more and more and more things. And how he came up with the premise of the book is his mom died. I know it's sad, but he went down to start clearing out his mom's belongings and pulled out this box, these 2 huge boxes that she had under her bed that were just full of like old school papers from like elementary school. Like he got an A and stuff in it.
Yeah.
And he's like, people keep those things for the memories, but they don't pull them out and look at them to get the memories. The memories are in their head. So we just have to choose to think about them. And if you want to save a certain thing, take a picture, but we get so caught up in the things to keep the memories and doing all those things instead of saying, how much time could I spend with this person, and to make experiences with the person and to build that relationship up together with that person and let them know how much they're important to them. And let's set aside our phones and technology and things like that. So
we were just sharing with our youngest the other day about actually I think Josh was in the car too. My son was in the car too, but we were talking about how before cell phones, right? You wanted to chat with your friends. Like you couldn't call a friend up. You couldn't text a friend. You couldn't hop on, your computer and play games like gaming or Discord or whatever these kids use these days to chat, right? You literally had to hop on your bicycle or walk over to your friends. And it really, everything became about doing things together as your friends or groups, which honestly was real relationship building, because when you're on a device, communication is very limited.
Yeah.
There's a lot less involved.
You miss tone, body language.
Yes. Yeah.
You can misread things. People are reading things in their tone. And it's funny because in this day and age, this is where we're at. So we're not saying get rid of those things. We're just saying, how can we make sure to continue to have balance in it?
Yeah.
Like you have to put parameters or boundaries around. Someone said, I loved that book. Yeah.
Oh, Kim. Yeah. Kim said she read the book and loved it. Yeah.
Yeah. So put
Powerful.
parameters or boundaries around these to prioritize the actual personal relationships over the things. And that means like social media, technology, things like that as well.
Yeah. And it is important. I mean, it's easy for us to prioritize things over, I don't know about you guys, but like, I'll get a phone call from somebody, I won't answer it, and I'll text them like, what's up, right? Like, and I think that's like become kind of the norm thing of what we do. Kristy still, when she's on her way home from work, she'll call me. And if she doesn't call me, she'll call somebody she works with, calls an employee, right? If she's not calling an employee, she's calling our daughter. She's calling her sister. She's calling somebody. You're very good at like doing that. Where me, if I'm in the car, I don't want to be on the phone.
Oh, I love being on the phone.
I don't want to do that.
To work, I listen to a book.
Yeah, because it's too early.
For everybody. Way too early. So, but then on the way home, I'm always on the phone.
You're on the phone the whole time.
As soon as I get off the phone with someone, I'm like, who else can I call?
No, you will be 3 minutes from home. And I'll be like, I'm cooking dinner. I need to let you go. And because I wear my AirPod when I'm talking to her, and she's like, it gets really loud. So I'm like, okay, 3 minutes. Next thing you know, she's pulling the driveway. She's sitting in the garage on her phone. I'm like, what'd you do? She's like, I just call my sister. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But that's good. I think that's a good quality, actually.
Yeah, thanks.
I think it's a really good thing. I think we have to prioritize those relationships, because with texting, which is what I like, it's very impersonal though.
But yes, it is impersonal, but it's
is.
Very quick and you can get a lot done. You can be multitasking and having a conversation at the same time, which is not paying attention.
And you get to stay involved in the conversation as long as you want, which I think is bad, actually.
But when you're with a person, you need to be engaging with them, and that's what's missing. But part of this is, how can we make this into our marriage too? And I think Josh and I even suffer with this. We've gotten kind of
Don't jump ahead. That's it. That is the next one.
Enhance marriage with, no, I was going to say prioritize the relationship over the things. Prioritize your relationship over this. Okay. So distract from quality time. Yeah. Okay, fine.
You want me to just move on to number 2 and you can make your point? No. Yeah, we're doing that. Number two, enhance marriage with minimalism. Yeah. Right? We talk a lot about marriage. We're a couple on fire, so it's important to us. Relationships are important. Marriage is important. Yeah. And you can enhance your marriage if you use minimalism. Go ahead, make your point.
Yes, we can. I think Josh has talked about this a long time ago, before I even knew about this book. He talked about it at Celebrate Recovery too, about organizing car and organizing your life and things like that, which makes a difference on your mental state. So technically around your house, it can increase your marriage if your house is organized or clean. It's not like cluttered and everything. It does make a difference in your mental state. But what Josh and I have kind of fallen into, which I think a lot of marriages fall into, I've been thinking about this the other day, is how little I actually prioritize him and I in our time together, because we're together when I'm at home, we're together side by side all the time. So even if we're in a conversation or even if we're talking, if my phone goes off, I literally will think in my head, like, he's going to be here, and so we have all night, or, we have tomorrow, we live together, whatever. And I am getting on my phone or answering a text real quick while I'm still listening to him. And then I put my phone back, like, I'll just answer this real quick, or I'll just check my emails real quick while I'm listening to him. And it really actually, over time, I think chips away at the specialness of prioritizing or making him feel like he's important. Like, we talked about this, how it's came up too at my work. So I saw a Simon Sinek thing right now, and it showed him talking, and hey, like, if I'm talking to you, or if you're talking to a person, and just grabbing and picking up my phone.
Yes.
Not even being on it.
Sure.
Just having it in my hand while I'm talking to you psychologically send you the signal that you're not the most important person right now that I'm talking to.
Which is true.
Which is true.
Which is true.
And so I think, especially in marriages, we need to be very cautious about the little, the Bible talks about the little foxes that steal the vine, steal the fruit off the vine. And it's little foxes like that will start chipping away the specialness or the intimacy and stuff of a relationship. And it's really important to talk about it. Like to talk about it and say, hey, what are some boundaries that we can set together in our marriage to help it so it doesn't happen? Because no one wants to feel like I'm his mother, or he's my father, and if he's talking to me, I better not touch my phone. So rather than having these little bitterness too, maybe that creeps up because we are putting assumptions or thought bubbles over his head at that point, let's just talk about it and talk about what parameters we're going to put on our phones.
Agreed.
Like if I come home from work and I sit at the kitchen table and he's in the kitchen working and everything, and him and I are kind of just really not paying like eye-to-eye contact. We're kind of just telling each other about the day. If his phone goes off or my phone goes off and we also want to pick it up at that time and look at it while we're doing 1,000 other things, that wouldn't be as damaging to if him and I are at breakfast together and it's supposed to be our quality time and we're on our phones the whole time. But to have open communication about those things.
Yeah, and I think you're being kind because you're using yourself as an example, but let's just be honest, right? This is something that does happen for both of us, right? And we have had some deep conversations recently about it. And the goal, like Kristy is saying, though, I think, and even with us, is you have to paint very clear boundaries about what it means, right? So the one person in your relationship could think this is what you meant by it, and then that's not what was meant, and then it's like, okay, you don't care then. And it's like, okay, no, we're going to make sure that we're trying to enhance our relationship because of how we're going to treat this minimalism time, right? This time of focus, and right. And so, how horrible. I mean, the problem with us is in our relationship, we'll sit down at night because we've had a long day and we'll watch TV. Well, we've gotten to where we watch certain types of programs where you don't have to focus 100%. Doesn't matter, right? It's reality show stuff, Amazing Race, and so
we talk to each other about the show while it's going on. It's not like a movie where you have to be quiet.
Right. And on top of that, we also got used to using our phones at the same time as us watching the show. So now it's like this, there is no clear set guidelines. Like, okay, we can't say while the show's on, we're not going to get on our phones. We haven't said that, right? Maybe that is a rule. Maybe that'll work for you. I don't know. But those are the types of things that makes a difference. You guys are both on the same page, understand? And then you can enhance things within your marriage because you're trying to minimize the materialistic things that are around you instead of focusing on each other, the relationship.
Yes. And in the book, he talks about him and his wife every single Saturday leave their phones at home, go out and spend the entire day together with no phones. 70? And I'm like, I think that is a good idea but not maybe that for 24 hours. Like, I think it'd be important for people to go out on a date. Like, hey, tonight we're going to go out on a date. We'll leave our phones in the car.
Love that. I love that. Yeah.
We go in, we have dinner, we're fully paying attention to each other. Then when we get back in our car, you spend an hour and a half. If there's an emergency or something that has to get done, we have them right there that can do it.
I mean, what do we do before cell phones? You know what I mean?
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah.
So, okay. But I think a whole full 24 hours and it's really bad because this is how addicted we are. Like, even if him and I go to breakfast together, we'll be talking about something. We're like, when was that? Let's Google it. Like, we're going to use our phone. Who was in this movie? Oh my gosh, let's look this up. Yeah. So we're using it to like research stuff, but it's kind of
dopamine. Like, for sure.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And I think it's really important that you set healthy guidelines around these things, and understand that there is a lot of value that's in that. They are very distracting. And maybe it's not the phone for you. Maybe it's not. I would say the majority of people, it probably is. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's the TV. Maybe it is. Maybe it's kids. I don't know. We don't know, but you have to understand, like, your marriage is important. It's the most important relationship that you have here on the planet. So how are you using this? Love people and use things. How are we doing that?
And everybody can do it. I mean, you can, and I know this sounds like minimal, right? But if you're like, okay, we're going to start with, our life is too crazy. We're going to start with 10 minutes. So you and I go in the bathroom for a marriage just for 10 minutes to be like, how are you doing? How are you doing? And just quickly, how was your day today? How was your day today? Tell each other, and have no phones in there. I mean, there is a book that talks about the miracle morning, and it talks about you get up, you work out, even if you have, and they use the example. There's 5 things that you do in the morning. It's been a while since I read this book, but it was a well-rounded thing. Like you read a book, meditate,
do it within like an hour,
exercise, but it's 20-20-20 or something like that. So
Yep.
if you wake up late and you only have 10 minutes, they say do 2 minutes of this, 2 minutes of this, 2 minutes. You still can get it all in. And the purpose of that was to not get out of the routine or the habit of the importance of doing it. Don't give yourself an excuse not to. So if your relationship, you have to be intentional and you have to make it a priority. Start out by saying, like, we have, you know, a bunch of little kids running around. Okay, well, you take 10 minutes, go into the bathroom together and say, hey, how are you? If you can't do that, make sure for when you guys first come together at the end of the day, maybe look at each other, lock hands together and say, hey, I just want to let you know that I love you very much. And I just appreciate you being my partner in life. And you make eye contact. For that takes 10 seconds to do that. That's how you start doing those things. You know?
I mean, and I'm saying this half joking, but honest to goodness, could you imagine that if during our time of being intimate that one of us picked up our phones? Could you imagine that?
Oh.
How impersonal though that is?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like that kind of like, I know it's an extreme thing and I'm kind of being funny.
That is extreme.
But you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I think sometimes we don't realize like sometimes it has that sort of an impact when we're like maybe telling each other something and we feel like the other person hasn't heard a word we said.
Yeah.
Right?
Because like if we were being intimate and then our phone went off and we were like, oh, just a minute.
Excuse me, I'll be right back.
My phone really quick.
Could you imagine? No, that's what I'm saying. All right. And so that's like so important that we prioritize our relationship and our marriage.
Yeah. And the Bible does talk about this thing too. Like there's the prodigal son that took all of his dad's things. He left, you know, he took his inheritance and ran, you know, and squandered it all or whatever. And then when he came back home, was his dad upset about the money or anything like that? No, he was just excited to see his son. And we should be better because during COVID, it made us all realize how much we needed human connection and how quickly we forget because everyone was so upset that they couldn't go visit their loved one in an old folks home or assisted living facility, or we couldn't celebrate birthdays together and we couldn't hug one another and churches were closed down. And it made us like abruptly realize how much we need physical contact. Doing a Zoom call with your family at Celebrate Recovery, we were doing Zoom. And for the small groups and stuff, it isn't the same. It's better than nothing, but it is not the same. And after COVID, we should have all gotten so much better. And I feel like we've gotten worse.
Yeah.
I feel like we've gotten to the point where it's like we're more entranced with technology and we're more involved, self-focused in feeding my need for constant stimulation by other things besides people. So
yeah,
that's my rant.
Because devices and things like that get to be our choice.
Yeah.
In a relationship, it's like it doesn't work like that.
It's hard.
It's got to be two ways. Yeah, and that's actually is really hard. Okay, so that was our longest rant yet. Okay, number 3. All right, so number 3. Number 3 is value experience over possessions.
So this is a big one. So the minimalist things is talking about being like I told you, the book it shocks you, right? It's sneaky. So they do big, long things about financial responsibility too, and how to be a minimalist with your finances, not to make less money, but to not spend money on the wrong things. And they talk about how important it is to, if you're going to be spending money, why choose to spend your hard-earned money on something that it's going to be new and shiny for a short-lived time, and the next thing you know, it's in the trash. You should be spending it on experiences with the people that you love, you know, and things you're doing. Even if it's going to breakfast, you know, you can go on elaborate vacations, but if you don't have the money to do that, going to breakfast or going out and spending the day together and walking around the mall and window shopping, you know, things like that together. Just driving around, you have to spend money on the gas, doing a road trip together. I mean, just things like that is experiences, you know, goes back to that quote, people will never remember what you said, but they will remember the way that you made them feel.
Yep.
And we look back on trips and vacations that you spend with people. And if you think about it, you don't remember every single thing that you talked about, but you do remember how you felt on the vacation. And that is what relationships are about, is having fun and laughing until you cry, and, you know, use your finances for that.
So let's talk about something that is an amazing experience that you don't even have to use your finances for. So something that Kristy and I decided years ago is that we wanted to stop purchasing more stuff, right? We could have spent more money on a bigger house. We could have done all these weird things, right? We chose not to. But the one thing that we did do that didn't cost us any money that I think has been a massive impact is every other Friday we decided to do family fun night here at our house, right? And it eventually rolled into just doing one thing every other Friday, but the kids looked forward to it, loved it so much that their friends begged that they'd come be part of it. And we started doing this freeze tag thing in the dark. And I mean, so much that we would all get dressed up in all black clothes. We would put, you know, towels over our clocks, you know, the digital clocks. So
I mean, our house was black.
So it was dark, right? Pitch black. And that was something that didn't cost us any money. We didn't have to go anywhere. And we always told the kids that you can pick what you want. We did a rotation. Pick what you want on family fun night, but it can't cost, you know, we can't go anywhere. It's not going to cost us any money. And eventually I just end up always picking this one
Always
thing.
freeze tag in the dark. So it started out, there was minute to win it games.
Yeah, because we hung a list. We had a list, an ongoing list of things, and this was a list you pick from.
Yeah, minute to win it games were on there. That was a lot of fun.
Board games.
Yeah, we started out with, we would have dinner, we would do a devotional, and then we would pick a fun game that the family was going to do.
Yep.
And we really couldn't do it in the summer too much because it stayed light for so long. In the winter months, though, you could guarantee nothing else was being picked.
For sure.
It was freeze tag in the dark, for sure. One person, we would get cards out, and whoever drew the ace of spades was it, right? And they would have to stand in a designated area, and the rest of us would go hide. We would dress up all in black, and the rest of us would go hide somewhere in the house. And the person had to find them. And you could get out of your hiding spot and try to run around. But if they tagged somebody, that person was frozen. But the rest of us would have to try to go to unfreeze that person. But if the it person got everybody frozen, they won.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
So much that they kept, friends would request to come when we played.
On family fun nights.
Yeah, it was huge.
And it was like every other week because my kids would go to their dad's every other weekend. So it would be every other Friday, and people would be they'd come home and be like, oh, so-and-so's asking if family fun night is this Friday, you know? Stuff.
Yeah, because we have a ranch house, right? And we always said, you know, you can't go downstairs. So his basement was off limits because that's where we have a finished basement. That's
we
where
don't want people falling
stayed.
down the stairs.
Yeah, we don't want, well, and that just complicated things a lot. So, yeah, so it was a ranch. So, yeah, people hiding in our closets, you know, all kinds of stuff. And yeah, one of the best hiding spots.
Outside.
Yeah, and one of the best hiding spots was standing on top of the counter. That was one of my spots that nobody could ever think to look there. But we had a beagle then, and the beagle loved me, and he would always bark and sniff wherever I was. So that kind of stunk. But that was an amazing experience, though, that we didn't have to pay anything for. Nobody had, you know, we didn't have to play a video game. We didn't have to do anything digital. It was minimal.
It was so much fun.
But it was so much fun.
Everybody loved it.
It was a blast. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4, our last point, is practical steps to daily living. How about some steps to daily living with more minimalistic stuff, right? Maybe you're kind of loving your people instead of loving your things.
What?
What are some things that people can do? Some practical things that people can do.
Well, I want to talk about what we've done recently.
Talk about what we've done.
So
yeah, that's a good one.
If I told myself like I wanted to go through and minimalize our house all in a day, I would get overwhelmed. So what I did, I like lists and I like organizing and doing things. So it actually is something that if I put it on the calendar, I'm actually looking forward to it. Kind of like a vacation. Like I look forward to it that much. It's so much fun because I like going through all the old things and be like, throw it away, give it away, all these things.
Isn't our house fun? It's so fun.
So we started with the simplistic things like a front room. We organized it. There wasn't a lot to get rid of, but we resituated some things, made it more user-friendly. Then we went to our office area where we have our desks and did that. But when it really got fun was our bedroom, going through because over time you shove stuff under your bed. Next to your night tables, we actually have drawered things and stuff's just thrown in drawers like when we went on vacations, like Walt Disney wristbands we kept in there. throw it away, because we're not going back and looking at those things. So if you want to do something like that, though, I would suggest that you maybe even just start with one room, just depending on how much stuff you have, and say, hey, let's just go through everything in this room and let's make a pile, sell, throw away, give away, keep. You can do that. Or you could start small, like start with your car, like we talked about. But I would encompass a more, like if you listen to this book, it is a more like holistic thing. So you could say, okay, I'm going to start with this room, but then also what's one person this week, maybe that I haven't talked to in a while, an old friend, or maybe your spouse and you haven't went out on a date in a while or breakfast or whatever. Let's plan something for that in the near future, or let's make a pact together that we're going to start looking each other in the eyes, every day when we come home and just say, hey, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for everything you do. And just see what a difference that makes in your mindset.
Yeah, I think, like if we want to talk about steps, things that you can start doing, I think first you need to find out what areas of your life is cluttery with things, right?
Yeah.
And not people, right? So, I think that's a good start. Now, not everybody's house is cluttered or has clutter spots. Ours really wasn't cluttery, but
everybody's house is cluttered.
But it had some clutter spots, and it had definitely areas of that it could be reorganized in a way that feels better, right? And so that's what we started with. Some people have their cars, right? Their cars are a hot mess, right? Their houses are great, and their cars are just a dumpster fire, right? And that's an area that you can start with. There's many things. Your office, right? Maybe someone's office at work. Maybe there's all these different things that you can start. But what is it that you feel is cluttered with things that needs to be purged? And I think it's easy for us to say, that's not in the way, that's not bugging me, so I don't need to mess with it. And that's just untrue, is exactly what you're saying. Is this book is designed to say, no, these are areas of our lives that whether we think they're cluttered to us or not, they are.
I have one.
They take up space.
So what else they talk about in the book too, which you and I used to be really bad at it, I feel like we've gotten better, is decluttering your schedule. So you fill up your schedules with so much busyness to do things that you don't have any time for the relationships that are in your life, like your parents or your siblings or your spouse, because you're doing so much stuff all the time. And so it's important to declutter your schedule too.
I think, and I couldn't agree more, I think the key to that, though, is starting using a calendar.
Yeah,
for most people. Most people's time is just a complete mess because they're not organized by having a calendar. Something that you and I have done years ago now is we have Apple Calendar and we share a calendar.
Yeah.
And we schedule everything out.
Yeah.
Like no matter what, I don't even have to be by you. And if I schedule it's on the calendar, you know that it's on there.
Yeah.
And that keeps things so much more organized. Or we'll say, what do we have going on this weekend? Nothing? Great. Well, we're putting nothing on the calendar then.
Yeah.
Like we're scheduling time for you and I, for some special time and things like that. Those things matter. That has been I think that's been a huge thing for us.
Yeah. Like here, we really we know what works for us is going on walks, being outside, going on walks, but we don't live in a state that's warm all the time. Boo. Yeah. So, right. But so when it is nice out, we need to prioritize getting outside and going on a walk together. It does wonders for both of us mentally and for our relationship. So that's decluttering your mind. And part of this book, if you declutter the things around you or organize the things around you, what is going on in your mind to help you continue to grow and be a contribution to the world and the society that can calm your mind, because it causes chaos in your mind. So what works for you to calm you?
Yeah, I agree. All right. Ways review here.
Read the book if you haven't.
Read the book. All right. Number 1, prioritizing relationships over materialism. Number 2, enhance marriage with minimalism, right? This can definitely pertain to your marriage, as you should make sure that it does. Number 3 is you need to value experiences over possessions, right? How are your experiences becoming the most important thing other than your finances or your time being spent on possessional things? And number 4, what are some steps that you can for daily living, right? What are the areas of your life right now that can be decluttered or organized in a way that's going to help free you up internally for these things? So love people and use things.
Yeah. That's right.
Get it on Amazon today.
Yeah.
Or Audible is what you listen to it on.
Yeah, but you can order the book off of Amazon.
Yeah, they're both on there.
I thought I did, actually. I must have
when you really like a book, she'll listen to it and then she'll actually order the physical copy of it too, and then it'll sit on our bookshelf, which is nice. Another thing to add to our nice, neatly organized bookshelf. So
books are important.
They can be if you read them. What are you looking for?
Yeah, it's 43% off right now. It's normally $26. It's $14.93.
Dog, you're welcome. You're welcome. Love people use things. All right, anything else before we
don't
close
get
out?
any kickbacks from it. So
No.
we're not advertising for it for our own gain.
Jeff Bezos is not getting.
I'm talking about
having to
the
pay us
author of the
money.
book.
Oh, him either. Him either. We're not getting anything from that guy either. So, all right, guys, we're so glad that you're here.
We have an announcement too.
Ooh, we do. That's brand new.
Oh my gosh, we're so bad.
It's brand new.
You do it.
Brand new. Okay, so we have something awesome. Number one, you need to make sure that next January 12th through the 19th, you have completely marked off in your calendars. First thing, if you're not good on calendars, go mark that off right now. This is why. Kristy and I are going to be guest speakers on Jay and Laura LaFoon's Marriage at Sea. Celebrate Your Marriage at Sea, which they invited us to come and be speakers. And so we're super excited about that. So if you're interested in that, let us know. We'll leave a link down below here when we get off. I'll make sure to link down there and let you guys know. You can go and register for the cruise. It's amazing.
Please come.
Yeah,
that'd be so much fun.
So much fun. It is a Caribbean cruise. It goes out of Puerto Rico, and we are overly joyed to be doing this. This is something that we am excited to do.
It's an experience.
And it's an experience. Yep. It's an experience, and you get to leave your kids at home, which is a good experience for everybody. Okay. All right. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys so much for being here. We'll see you next Tuesday, 7 p.m. live.
Bye.